Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay, so let's talk about the narrative. What's the narrative?
Are you asking me?
No, 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 not you. Everybody else except you.
Okay.
Like get up in the morning, work out, sweat, I guess.
Okay.
Get ready for your day. I like it.
Okay, cool. Somebody else? Anybody?
This is pretty much everything I kind of strive to be, because I wish I had like the motivation to get up that early in the morning, to go for a jog or to just go work out.
Yeah, I haven't seen 6:30 in the morning in a while. But I have most definitely been seeing 4 o'clock in the morning more than I like to admit recently.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I think it's, I think Amanda sort of hit it. I think it's just because I'm not like moving as much as I normally do during the day, so I'm a little wired still at the end of the day. So
yeah, that's
okay.
exactly what my friend was saying. She's like, our bodies are used to doing something every day, and now that we're doing nothing, our bodies get restless, and we're either up super late or we wake up at crazy times. So
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask, how is the black and white, is it enhancing the narrative, and why? Is it not enhancing the narrative, and why?
It's clean. There is a narrative, which is good.
Yeah.
And yeah, this could be an ad.
Oh yeah? What ad for what?
For a gym.
For a gym? Are you buying a pass?
I'm sorry?
Are you buying a gym pass?
I could, yeah.
Based off of these photos, you're buying what they're selling?
I'm buying what they're selling.
Then it's successful, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it works for like a piece talking about working out, like what you have to do like in the morning, get up early, set up your iPod or your phone, whatnot, and like get that stuff going. It's kind of more like, to me, it's directionally like helping me think like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to have a clean workout. There's not a lot of stuff around, and you can see the phone, the headphones. I think the charger.
I think it's a jump rope.
It's a jump rope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, I see. But yeah, it just kind of, it's like more motivational to me, not like an ad particularly.
Okay.
You know?
But motivational, like, where do motivation, like, what does that even mean? Like, that's not like a genre.
Or kind of like, it inspires you to like wake up in the morning, I don't know, that's what I get, because I usually try to wake up at 6:30 and it's super hard, and I don't know, it's so clean that it makes you like want to go do that,
Okay. Other thoughts?
Is the image on the right, is that a larger image on purpose, or is it, at least on my screen, it's larger?
Oh, like the width here?
Yeah.
Maybe, but it probably has to do with cropping or something. Does that bother you?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So you think there needs to be a little more symmetry or something?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. It's good. It's something good to think about. I think, I think for myself, like the thing that's really interesting, and Ivy, you can tell me if this was intended, but I really like this before, during, and after. Like it's really a display of a narrative, right? Chronological narrative, right? A screen grab is so good, I feel like. Now, I say that it's so good, Ivy, But
Yes.
if you go into, you know, Jay Perez's class and turn in a screen grab, I feel like he's just his conservative little brain is just gonna pop and he's not gonna be able to handle it. All right. So like I like it. I love it. In fact, I like really, really love it. But just be, you know, when you move into the other classes, be cognizant that they might give you some grief about it. What were you gonna say, Ivy?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think it's perfect because you know, all sort of like any kind of thing like this that sort of challenges the status quo of what I'm asking for. I really love that kind of stuff. So good job. I mean, I can't think of a better way to like complete this narrative in 3 photographs, you know, like it's your message is very clear. Now where the photos end up like sort of living is sort of like up in the air. Some people said it feels like an ad. I don't like motivation. Like obviously it's very motivational. I still wonder where like a narrative like this motivational narrative like ends up living. Like is it like a fitness Instagram or something like that, or is it, you know, I'm not sure. I see it like part of a series that could be about, you know, that could live like editorially, you know, in like a fitness magazine or something. So, you know, good job on keeping it clean. In just the spirit of being really critical, like maybe the image on the right, yeah, I agree. Like maybe make it the same size as the other images.
Okay.
And then also you know, because your first 2 images are so spick and span clean, I would say that the image on the right could use a little cleanup, like with just little pieces of dust and like whatever,
Uh-huh.
the stuff on the floor. But yeah, I mean, I think this is great. I think this is exactly what I'm talking about. It also, honestly, also could live as a Apple ad, you know,
Okay.
which is good, right? That's a good
Right.
thing. That
Right.
it's either Nike or Apple, but they're both paying you a lot. So
Okay.
good job.
Thank you.
I really
Yeah.
like how the first image, it looks like the length of a photo screen. I'm not a phone screen.
Hmm.
I like how it has that like thin, it's like tall and long.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like. It looks like what I look at my phone in the morning when my alarm goes off. Yeah, I like it.
Dope. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, Ivy. Okay. All right. So here we go. Next thing on the agenda. Final projects. Final project. Let me open up my calendar here. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 more class meetings after this, and then the final day. Okay.
Do we really only have 4 more?
Yes.
Wow.
Right.
It
You're
feels like
making
it
me
went
question
fast.
myself, but I feel like
I don't know. It feels like it went fast.
June 12th is the last class, right? Anybody? I think so. Yeah. Okay. So what that means is I want to get, okay, so we're going to do a book together. Okay. Let me publish this. Let me publish it on Canvas so we can all sort of follow along together. 1 second, let me publish the vocational one for you all. Okay. If you all want to follow along on the on Canvas, you can, but I'll just read it to you and you can go back. So the first thing, so it's a final book. So the first thing under the in the body of the text, it's a link to the specs on Blurb. I feel like we'll just use Blurb. Okay. Blurb is a company that we can create books with. So the final portfolio will consist of 6 to 10 images that have been produced throughout this semester. Each image must contain some digital manipulation. You'll be graded on the digital manipulation, creativity, and image quality. Okay? Now, so the final format as a class, you will work together to produce a book through the Blurb platform. Okay. Each photographer should have a section of the book, and the layout of the section will be unique. You are not required to purchase the book, but a final PDF will be turned into me with everybody's images in it. Okay. So the procedure: discuss a concept with me. You know, if you have an idea already, let's talk about it today. If you don't have an idea, let's talk about it throughout. I want to talk to you, even if it's through email or whatever. I want to know what your concept is before next class. Okay, that should be easy enough, right? You can use past assignments if they fit within your concept. So if your HDR assignment sort of fits in with whatever your final concept will be, absolutely you can use it. So that's one of your 6 to 10 images done, right? And don't worry too much about the 6 to 10 images. Just get something cohesive done. I just threw that number out there. Normally I make it 10 images that are printed and perfectly printed, and we would have an art show at the gallery at school. But since we can't do that, 6 to 10 images, somewhere in there. Okay. But if it's less, it's not the end of the world. You can use your past assignments if they fit within your concept. Once the photos have been taken, you're going to use digital manipulation techniques to enhance the photographs. Simple. Just apply what we learned in this class to your photos. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. There's how many of you is there? 9 or 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there's 10. So I'm going to split you up into 3 groups. So 2 groups of 3 and one group of 4. Okay. And the reason I'm going to split you up into 3 groups is I'm going to sort of designate a leader within each group, and that leader is going to be sort of in charge of the group as far as gathering images. Now, what I want you to do, and I'm just going to make this a requirement, we're going to use Google Drive. Okay, so each group leader is going to create a Google Drive folder with each student's names, and the students are going to all put, all the people within that group are going to put their images into their own folder. Is this all making sense so far? Okay. Now, so there'll be a designated group leader who will be responsible for obtaining images from each student. This should be done via Google Drive. So on May 29th and June 5th, we're going to just be working in class. We're going to be working in Zoom like this, okay, together. And we're going to start laying out the images. Does that make sense? So I haven't really figured out what that means yet. Maybe I'll just go one group at a time and we'll lay out the images that way. Okay. But we're going to spend, May 29th and June 5th laying out the book. By June 5th, I'm going to submit the book to Blurb, and I'm going to have the final PDF. Or I'm not going to submit it to Blurb. Whoever, I'll be with you all while we work on it, but by the end, you all will submit it to Blurb. Okay? On the 5th. That means that your shooting has to be done most likely by the 29th, which is what, like 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away? What is it? Today's the 8th. So basically 20 days from now, you have to produce the work. Now, that doesn't mean you can't produce the work after the 29th and sort of plug it in on the 5th, last ditch effort, but I would try to shoot for getting everything done by the 29th. So that's why I'm saying 6 to 10 is sort of flexible, but definitely, I'm going to want to see that you've worked, that you're busting your buns trying to get it done. Okay. And then, and once we get the PDF uploaded to Blurb, I'm going to buy one. I'll buy one for the department. They'll probably want one, but you all will be able to buy one yourselves if you want. You don't have to buy one. Okay. That's not part of the requirement, but if you want to buy one, it will be available. to purchase through Blurb. And I think it just stays there. So you can buy multiple copies, you can buy a copy later or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But we'll sort of cross all those bridges when we get there, okay? The first thing you wanna do is come up with a concept and let me know what your concept is, okay? And this needs to start, we need to get going on it.
So
Yes.
So we do 6 to 10 images themselves. We're not putting them on a page or pages.
Not yet.
That will be done by the 29th or the 5th of June.
Exactly.
As a group, okay. And then
yeah, because sorry, let me interrupt you real quick. The reason for that is instead of everybody sort of fumbling around with different PDF documents, if we just designate one PDF document and sort of go group by group, laying the images out, it's going to be far simpler than if we're sitting there trying to combine different PDFs. Okay. But I definitely don't want to be trying to chase around 10 of you to get your images into a folder. That's why I'm designating 3 different groups with a group leader, so that group leader can hold you all accountable, and I don't have to hold you accountable.
Okay.
And then you had another question, Joe?
I did, but I forgot what it was.
Oh, sorry about that.
It'll come back.
Okay, cool. Other questions? It can't be that simple. I mean, yeah, just focus on getting your images done. Now, I have one more assignment, actually, but I'm a little wary of giving you another assignment, and I think I'd rather you just work on your final at this point. I see a bunch of head nods, yes. Okay, unless you all want another assignment, I most definitely have it ready to fire off at you.
Can you put it up as if it's not a true assignment, but it's something voluntary that we can do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go over what I'm gonna go over today. I mean, essentially so the way that the class has always gone in the past, is that I would, my final assignment to you all is a color print. Sounds simple, color print. But, we would be spending a lot of time doing custom printing and custom manipulations to the color, and I really try to get you to rip your hair out, trying to be really particular about the color once it gets onto the paper and into, we have that print viewing station. So once we get the print up in that print viewing station, step back, take a look at the color, really break down if the blue sky is an exact perfect tone of blue, or is it too yellow? Is it too magenta? Is it, we really get into that aspect of the printing process. So since I cannot really get into that with you all, I am going to show you, and I think it's working that I just show you my own sort of work, right? Is that working for you all? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you, and my work is very non-commercial, very sort of, well, you all know. But I will show you, I try to grab some portraits and some other stuff, and I'll just show you how I manipulate the color myself. Now, as always, there's always a way to do color or anything in Photoshop any other way, any different way. So this is just sort of my way, and I could assign you a color assignment, but again, I think at this point I would rather you just work on your 6 to 10 images. But if you want an assignment, I can definitely give you an assignment. I don't think any of you need extra credit or anything. Okay. I appreciate the smiling faces, so I'm just gonna we'll go with that. Joel, yes.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you want to give it as extra, that'd be great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me post it to the. Let me post it. I mean, yeah, let me post it to the Canvas later today. But the final book I just published, so you all should be able to see it. Now there is a whole section on the specs for the blurb. Let me there's also like when you go to that website, there's also a plugin for InDesign. So I'll probably download the plugin and load it into my own InDesign, and then I'll sort of maybe just let you all, you know, we'll figure it out. This is all new territory for me, so we'll figure it out, and I'll get back and we'll get it done. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the thumbs up. All right. Okay. So, well, moving on. Okay. So, well, shoot. Okay. I guess I'll just get into the color stuff.
How did you come across Blurb?
Blurb has sort of been around for a long time.
Are they local?
No, I don't think they're local. I think they might even be Canadian. I have it in my head that they're Canadian, but it's sort of a lot of people use Blurb.
Okay.
Now, that's a good question. There are a ton of book making companies. I just know that Blurb sort of is
Quality.
fine. Yeah, quality's good and it's fine. And then I'm hoping that, you know, the color turns out fine, and I'm, you know, all that stuff. So, yeah. But in saying that, like, because some of the local businesses are not running right now, we can't use, you know, normally I would, it would be through, it would be done through this company ANI, which is in Burbank. And did any of you, none of you went with me last time. I did a field trip to ANI, and we could see all the different, cause ANI is also owned by this place called Harmon Press, which is offset printing. It's a union company because they do all the printing for like the movie industry. So it has to be a unionized company. But they have these massive printing presses that sort of span the length of the building. That you know, it's really interesting. And we can go and literally see the digital printing presses that the books get created in, and so on and so forth. But you know, since they're sort of, I don't know if they're shut down or maybe just ANI, the ANI section is shut down, but it's not running at the moment. But I did get a weird email from them saying that they're giving discounts. I don't know. Yeah, Victor,
I've bought a book from ANI. I've made a book with ANI before.
Mm-hmm. How was that process?
It was easy to lay out the book with them,
Mm-hmm.
but when I got the book, they took a little while to deliver the book. But the picture quality, like the color, was good,
Mm-hmm.
but the design of the book, I think you really need to spend quite a bit of money to get the really good designs of the book. Like
Wait
the
a
bind.
minute. So, like the actual physical book.
Yeah, the actual physical.
Yeah.
Book. Yeah.
So what happens with, especially at ANI, I have a lot of experience with ANI. I used to work there, but what happens is, especially if you want your book to open up all the way and lay flat, there's a special kind of paper.
Yeah, I've seen how much they are. Yeah, I was looking at it, and I was like, now thinking I probably should have spent $100-something to get that layout book.
Yeah. So it definitely depends. Now Blurb, you don't necessarily like go through all that. Yeah, but the good part about ANI is the prints do come out really beautifully, and they're local. Good, in theory, instead of dropping $100 and keeping your fingers crossed that everything looks okay. Can you guys see me still? Yeah. Okay. My computer just said that my internet's unstable. Are you guys? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good
Okay.
now.
For me, it was
I
like
didn't
really
notice.
choppy. I don't know. About
Okay. Is it better now? If it's
Yeah, it's
not
better
good, I'm
now.
gonna turn off my camera. Okay. Yeah. So the really good thing about ANI is that you have
Oh
this
no, he's gone.
couple, just a couple pages.
Hello?
Okay, wait. Is that any
really
better?
bad.
Hello.
You sound
hello,
better.
hello?
Yeah.
Your audio
I
was
sound
glitching
okay.
out.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep my camera off for a second. Hopefully that will take up less bandwidth or whatever. Yeah, so ANI is great because you can just work. It's local, so you can literally have them print a couple pages, drive down to Burbank, and make sure before you drop a whole $100 and something, or whatever it is for the exact custom book that you want. So the customization is really nice. Checking and making sure that everything looks right is really nice. If
Yeah.
something is wrong, you can take it back to them and point it out and have them fix it. Blurb is like a massive faceless company that who knows. So
Yeah, with ANI, I really like their program that they make you use to lay out the book. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
accurate, I would say.
yeah, the book creator, yeah.
The only problem I have with it is the paint scrapes off really easy. The print, like the color.
The ink.
Yeah, the ink. Yeah.
It's not
'Cause
that
I have a-
durable.
Yeah, it's not very durable, and the material they make it out of, maybe they have the more expensive books are better material and better ink, but like some of the books on the cheaper end, they still last and they're good and everything, but they degrade quite a bit, the edges, and then the ink does too.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is strange. I wonder why. I mean, a book is sort of meant to be handled and looked at and held. So there is some degradation that happens, but I don't know if it's more, it might be something you might want to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm not happy with this, and see if they'll see what they'll do with you. Could be worth it. Okay. I'm gonna start with some color correction. Robin, have I ever shown the picture of my nephew in his little baseball uniform to you in the color class?
I don't think so.
Okay, sweet.
I don't recall that.
I feel bad if I show the same work over and over. I usually work on this photo in this class because it's a little challenging. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so let's do the first one. This one. All right, so this is a scan of a photo, a high resolution scan. You can actually see the clip marks up here at the top. Come on, you can see the clip marks from the clips that held it while it was getting processed. Actually, I'm gonna just open this straight up in Photoshop because I think it's this one is the corrected layered file. 1 second. Photo 24 color. Oh no, it's just spotted. Okay. Well, let's go through Photoshop on this one. So here is a portrait of my nephew, and there's some really strong colors in this image. A lot of primary colors, right? It's got the blue, the red, and the yellow. Now, the reason I wanted to show this was, sort of skin tone can be really challenging with color, right? It can start to shift real quick. Like if I do a curves layer, I don't know, we'll go into the greens. Maybe I'll just drop a point right here. You can see that his skin is changing really rapidly with just single clicks of the arrows. Do you all see that? So before it's, it probably didn't look so bad or look too far off on a skin tone. But the moment I just start to add a little bit of magenta, I'm correcting out a lot of the green that was in the skin tone. Okay. So I would say, like, a lot of times, like when you're color correcting, you really need to pay a lot of attention to the skin tone and if there is a color shift in the skin. Now I'm sorry, I got this new monitor and I haven't calibrated it yet, so I don't know what it's looking like on your screen. But for me, just a couple clicks does the trick. Okay, so I'll show you how I did it again in case I went a little fast. But I go to curves, and right here, this will tell, when you click this tool, it will tell you if you hover over. I'm not clicking anything, but if you hover over your image, you can see on the curves line where that point is. So this is about middle gray, right? This is the midpoint of the image. If I go here to a darker area, you'll see that little circle on the line sort of move, all right? So you can hover around and just try to find a nice midpoint, right? Now I also can see, like, there, his cheek is sort of red, but then there's like some green around this area around his nose. So, maybe I'll just select that point right there. Okay. Oh, sorry. So that'll tell that drop the point on the curves line, but this is all three channels combined, which is just exposure, right? At that point. But if I isolate each channel, I can do the same thing. So I still have that tool selected. I have the green channel selected. I'm going to hover over this point, drop the point down. And now I'm going to use my arrows on my keyboard, just pushing down. I'm pushing down and to the right a little bit, and I'm correcting out some of that green. Okay. So I'll turn my layer on and off just to see what I'm doing. I'm a little happier I'd be happier with his skin looking red than his skin looking green, honestly, right? Now, does anybody sort of know how the color works as far as the three color channels? This is, I don't expect any.
Like how the color works?
Yeah, let me clarify, because that sounded really obscure or abstract. Okay, so when we printed in a subtractive color mode, meaning like printing these color negative photos by hand with a color processor and with an enlarger, our enlargers were split up into three different sort of color channels. You had your red, you had your cyan, you had your green, and you had your blue. I'm trying to think. Cyan, green, and yellow. Okay. Now, what that, you'll notice right here that we have red, green, and blue. Okay. What that means is red, okay, red is, the way that the red channel works is that if you added equal parts of green and equal parts of blue, that would give you cyan, which is the opposite of red. Okay, meaning if I just grab my mid-tone on my red and I drag it upward, it's adding red, correct? But if I drag it downward, it's adding cyan, which is the combination of blue and green. Equal parts of blue and green create cyan. Okay, so a lot of times, just throwing this out there, a lot of times I don't use my red channel. I just use my green and my blue channel to sort of balance out any colors that I find challenging. Now this is the only reason I do this is I think this way because I learned how to color correct by hand manually. Now, you all are learning it digitally, so using your red channel is perfectly fine by me. It's not right or wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I personally try to avoid the red channel as much as possible, and I just go off of the green and the blue. Okay, so does anybody know, like, if I drop a point and I don't like that point, do you know what I can do to get rid of the point? Okay, so if I drop this point, let's say I drop this point and I adjusted it like this, and I'm like, huh, that's not right. If I want to start over, I can just take that point, click it, and just drag it off. Okay, and it'll get rid of it. And that works if you have multiple points, you know. If you have multiple points, you can just select one, drag it off, select one, drag it off. Okay, so like I was saying, I like this tool right here. I don't even know what it's called, but I like this tool because it shows me exactly where that tonality falls on the curve line, right? On the spectrum there. And you can even see a histogram in the background. You can see there's a big spike right here, right? But okay, yeah. Let's just keep going. So I'm gonna drop that green. Oops, my pen tool selected. Drop that green point right there using my arrows, just kind of correct it out. Now I can do the same for the blue channel. Okay, so I'm gonna drop down here to the blue channel. Now the opposite of blue is yellow. Okay, so if I add blue, it's if I bring the curves line up, it's adding blue. If I bring it down, it's adding yellow. So I'll do that same thing. I'll have that tool selected and I'll come over here and I'll just drop a point and I'll either warm it up or cool it down. I personally sort of feel like a little warmth might do it some good. Okay, let's turn it on and off. Now that's where I've got the skin tone. Okay, that makes sense to everybody? Now, let's do something wild. Let's say that this jersey right here has a little bit too much red in the jersey here. Okay, another way that I can sort of control the color, come over here to the hue and saturation. Okay, instead of going the whole thing, you know, the master, we can desaturate the master. Oh, I don't know why it was filled with gray, but let's see. Okay, we can change the hue under master, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come over here to the reds. Now we'll go to the blues. Okay, and we'll change the hue in just the blue tones. You see that, right? So we decided there was a little bit too much red, so we need to probably go towards the cyan a little bit, which is blue and green. So just kind of adding a little bit like that. Okay, we could desaturate the jersey if we wanted to, or anything like that. So maybe we'll just desaturate just a little bit. Okay, so we'll see what we've done here. Can you all see that, or is that too subtle for your screens? Yeah, okay. So that, you know, there's hue and saturation. Now, let's keep going. Let's say that, oh, I know. Let's say that the red, let's manipulate the red. Oh, I have a participant. Oh, Victor, we lost Victor. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so let's go to the reds. Let's use color balance for the red. Okay, now actually I don't want to use color balance. Let's go to go to channel mixer. We can go to channel mixer and start to, you know, just affect the different channels, right? So, so in my reds, I might want to start to pull out some of that intensity of the red. Maybe pull out a little bit of the magenta, and maybe pull out some of the blue. I'm sorry, some of the warmth in the red. Now, The reason I'm doing this is, let's just say that through Channel Mixer, we decide that's how we like that red tarp behind him, right? But we don't like what it's done overall to the little boy, right? It's too cool now. So what we could do is mask it, right? So what would you do? Would you leave the mask white, or would you fill it in with black? Okay, so I'm gonna fill it in with black because for myself, it'll make it easier. So what I'm gonna do is, do you all see that black is in my background? Okay, Command Delete on my keyboard will fill the mask in with black, and it brings that color back. Okay, so now he looks okay. Now I'm gonna use my brush, make it a little bit bigger, actually much bigger. I have white in my foreground, but I have it turned way down, okay? The opacity and the flow, I have it turned way down, okay? And now I'm just gonna make one pass just to see what it's doing. It's not even, maybe I can turn it up a little more, right? And now I'm just sort of painting that red to cool it down and to make it a little darker, as we did in the Channel Mixer. Now I'm being a little sloppy with my mask, but just doing it so you guys get the sort of gist of it, the idea. Okay. So let's see what we've done here. So that was before and that's after, okay? Now, if you wanna see your mask, you can always hold down Option and click the mask, and it'll show you exactly where you are. Now, this is helpful when you're trying to, you know, I know now where the little boy is and I know where he's not. So I know like, oh, this whole gray area right here, I could actually just continue to paint, right? I can just continue to paint just like this. And now I know it's pretty good. Hold down Option and click it again. There you go. Turn it on, turn it off. Okay? So that leaves us before and then after. Okay? Now it's subtle, but for myself, like I said, if you all just push print and produced a print out of the printer, and it, you know, it looked like, hold on, I'm gonna make a, so if I select all those layers, I can hit group from layers after I right click, and it'll group them. All right, my computer is freezing. Anyways, you can group the layers and you can turn them on and off. Now, what I was about to say was, if you sent this out to print the way it was before, what I would likely do is I'd have a black Sharpie in my hand. We would take your test print, put it up in the print viewing station, and I'd start circling areas and writing notes on the actual test print to say, maybe we can change this, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this. And we would really start to dissect the print part by part so that we can really produce a really sort of perfect, perfectly produced print. Okay, but since we can't do that, and I can't do that with your photos, I can definitely make notes on them as we start to move forward. But this would be the sort of level of control that I want you to have over your photographs. Okay, finally. So I grouped those layers together just so that I don't have to keep selecting them all and turning them all on and off. I can just select the group and turn the whole group on and off. Okay, so maybe you know, that was before, you know, you could really see that his skin was pretty green, the exposure was a little bit off, that red was a little too obnoxious. I turn it on, it's sort of subtly bringing it all back together, and maybe we do a test print and decide that it's still a little maybe overexposed, right? Well, we can start up again. Start with a new, start with some more curves. We said it was a little overexposed, maybe bring it down. You know, I like that exposure better, but I don't like the exposure on his face, right? So then I'll come back here, same idea. This time I'll leave the mask white. I'll select my brush and I'll make sure I'll push X on my keyboard to put black in the foreground here. I'll zoom in a little bit and I will just bring his face out just a little bit. And I'm careful to try to avoid that highlight on his face. Okay, but I'm really just trying to mask out his face from that exposure, that change that I just made. Okay. So this is the overall, right? I made it just a little bit darker, brought the exposure down. And also now let's say I just want to see what that mask is doing. If I hold down Shift on my keyboard and click the mask, you'll see this big red X go through the mask. So that's turning the mask on and off. So now I can just see what's happening with the mask, right? Before I masked it out, too dark, right? After I masked it out, it looks like that. And then the whole layer itself, I can turn it on and off. Okay? Cool. 1 second here. Give me 1 second. I have this photo hanging up in my apartment, but I can't get it off the wall. So maybe I'll show you all next week. But the print looks really nice, and I produced it at Mount Sac during one of these demos. So that's all. Is there any questions on that? Is that sort of helpful, or is that just like review for everybody? I never know where you all are at.
It's good.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Cool. Okay. Do you want me to do one more?
Yes.
Okay, one more. Okay. So I could do another portrait. You want me to do another portrait? Let's do another portrait, and let's use Lightroom this time. Okay. So does anybody want to take? Shoot, where did it go? Does anybody want to take a guess as to why I chose this portrait? Where did it go? My Lightroom disappeared. Lightroom, come back.
Maybe stop sharing your screen and then locate it, and that might help. And then reshare.
Thank you. Let's see. I have 2 screens now. So I think it just moved it to the other screen, but like halfway. How funny. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm gonna quit it and then start it over again. Okay. Okay, so the reason I chose this one is the skin tone is so different than what my nephew's skin tone is, right? So different skin tones, different skin colors, you need to really be cognizant and not necessarily think that you're going to use the same sort of techniques as before. Plus the lighting's different, plus everything is different in this photograph, okay? So it's never sort of one sort of formula is the reason I'm using this photo of my friend Edward. Now, I'm going to go through Lightroom and just make some adjustments here. Now, obviously, you'll want to start with the color, right? Start with the color temperature. I don't know if I've gone through this already with you all. Actually, I'm going to make it bigger. I don't want to make it full screen because it messes up my screen sharing, but is that pretty good? Okay. So for myself, I like to, before I even start with anything, I like to just go through the presets, the settings, the color settings, just to see where it lands, where things land. So like, I'll start off here, I'll go to auto, warmed him up a bit, daylight, cooled him down a bit from auto, cloudy, warmed him up a little more. Now, does everybody understand why the color shifts are changing? Yes, okay. So then there's shade, so it's gonna be even warmer. Tungsten, so it's gonna add, you know, blue to compensate for the warm light. Fluorescent should be a little more magenta because you know, compensating for the green, sort of warm green light. Strobe or flash, right? Strobe and flash are almost identical to daylight. Very subtle difference. Okay, and then any movement that we make, we'll see that it, you know, if I go to shade and I start to correct anything, you'll see that it changes back to custom. Okay, so that's what I do with that. Now, that's one way of sort of starting off, right? Just kind of toggling through these different white balance settings. The other thing that you can do is this eyedropper tool. This eyedropper tool, you can hover around and you can see the different tonalities wherever the point of the eyedropper is. The cool thing about this is you want to sort of float around and you can watch the RGB numbers up here in the histogram, right? Try to find a point that is sort of that, like right there, that's a neutral gray, because you can see that the R, the G, and the B are almost exactly the same number, right? So if I click there, then it's going to balance out the photo. It's going to think that that tone right there is the middle gray tone, and it's going to balance out the color. Let's see. Everybody see that? So that's also a good way to work. Now, at Mount SAC, do they have color checkers? I think they do, right? We most definitely have color checkers. So you have all probably experienced at one point or another, maybe some of you haven't, but come across the color checkers. And you know, if I were really doing this pro style, I would have Edward just hold on to the color checker and I'd shoot a frame. And then I know that I can click on the middle gray of that color checker and it will balance out the entire photograph. And then I can just copy those settings and paste them to all the rest of the photos, right? And I would know at that point that that image is color balanced, right? So so there's a sort of color balance. Now that's probably true to what the scene was when I shot it, right? He's sitting on the ledge. There's the freeway below him, and there's cement beneath him that's that is filling his face quite a bit. We have sort of a hard light coming through the fence, giving him these highlights on his face. So let's just say that we're going to leave the color there because it looks relatively decent for the entire photograph. I would say though,
if you color balance and do find white,
yeah,
does that also work? Or
I mean, it's going to give you a different color here. Here's a white. There you go. Cannot see white balance here. So I mean, if it's like, you know, if it's a middle, you know, like right here, it looks pretty white, but oh yeah, I've never seen it have that problem. Maybe here, you know,
yeah,
it's a different, if it's a different color balance altogether. But you know,
right.
if I'm looking right here and looking at the numbers, 89.6, 89.7, 89.8, pretty close. So this is actually probably pretty much closer than where we were at before. But I'm going to go back here just because I kind of, for myself, like the warmer colors.
Right.
Right. But I don't like the warmth of his skin tone. I feel like he doesn't look quite right. So also, I do the same sort of thing with auto as far as exposure goes. I'll click it, I'll let it do its thing, and then I'll go from there and sort of adjust. Right? To me, that looks better. So there it was before. Hit auto, looks pretty good. I might just fill in just a little bit more, and then just sort of pull a little more detail out of the highlights. Okay? Because I knew that I had that hard highlight on his head. So I just want to kind of make sure that I bring some of that back in. All right. Now, actually, I'm not loving the green now. So I'm going to add just a touch of magenta. Okay? And sort of balance out some of that green. I don't know if you could see that, but it balanced out some of that green. Now, the main thing that I wanted to show you, my sort of trick is I like to come over here to the HSL and the color. Okay, especially with like people of color. But I feel like this also works on like sort of, you know, fair skin as well. But there's always kind of this like orange in it. Lightroom kind of always adds a lot of orange for some reason. Now, I come to the orange channel and I'll highlight it, you know, and I'll just use my arrows and I'll just desaturate some of the orange. Okay, so I'm gonna go 0 and then you'll be able to see the difference. You see that? It brought a lot of that orange out. A lot of the orange out of his skin, and all of a sudden he looks way more natural, looks way more like my friend Edward would look. Okay? And that's how I would work on that color. Now, the HSL and the color, you can obviously like go through the hue and saturation. We could change the saturation of the orange, and sort of moving it around under hue will really sort of show you what colors you'll be affecting, right? So sometimes I like to just go through and see where all my different colors fall, because I don't normally, you know, I'm not normally able to see it all, but right away. But you know, come through here, there's not too many aquas. There's a little bit of blues in his shirt, looks like. Also a little bit of purple in his shirt. Not much magenta, but yeah, that orange, right? We can definitely, I'm gonna zero it back out, you know, maybe sort of affect the red, maybe cool it down just a little bit. You know, this, for me, this is a great way to sort of, you know, balance out, sort of make something look a little truer to what the person looks like. That way you're not producing a bunch of orange, you know, people with orange skin or something like that. And from here, I would definitely take it into Photoshop, and I would probably end up masking out a little bit even more, you know, or whatever, fine tuning. But we're not going to get into all that right now because it's already 11:15. But yeah, so there's that. Is there any questions on that? Now, you can also do this in Capture One. You have a lot of control. And then you can also do this in Camera Raw. You have some control on that also. Okay. Yeah, and no questions. Okay. The last image that I'm gonna show you all, and I just open it straight into Photoshop. Is this another? It's another film scan of mine. I just wanted to. I'm not gonna go through all of it, but the original scan. Yeah. Okay. The original scan sort of looks like this. Okay. This is the scan. It's a little blown out, as you see over here, right? But because it's the scanner. Oh, let me make it bigger. Can you all see that? Because the scanner, you know, such a high resolution scanner, it's really nice. And this is a 4x5 image. I'm really getting a lot of tone and a lot of color in my scan. Okay. So, you know, I'll just show you in this curves layer, I brought some of the exposure back in, right? Brought it back down a little bit. Selective color. I don't even remember. I don't even know where it's affecting, but we've got some selective color going on. Here, let's see. So in my reds, that's what I should show you all. Okay, I'll show you in a second. but my selective color, I'm bringing some cyan back into my reds. Right here, I just burned the curves in at the bottom. So I just dropped that curve, brought it down, made it a little darker, and then I'm using that to burn in my foreground a little bit. So it's a little more even on the ground. So here's my sky, is another curves layer. We can see that I brought it in, made it a little darker. I probably added a little bit of, no, okay. So I just made the sky a little bit darker, and then I use my gradation tool to drag it across and just burn the sky in. Okay, so it looks nice and even, right? You see that? This is a burn and dodge layer. So I'm burning and dodging some areas that I don't want you to look at. I don't necessarily want your eyes to go back there, right? So I'm just burning it down a little bit, right? Once I start clicking things on and off, you really see where my manipulations go. And then selective color. I took some what did I do? I took some green out of the ground here, and I made it, you know, added a little more magenta, so it sort of looked a little more natural. Okay, does that make sense? So, you know, again, before and then after. And this is, you know, and even going from here, I printed this thing and I've printed it a few times, just really trying to get the color correct. Correct to what I want it to be, you know, my own subjective sort of taste in the color. Selective color, let's do selective color. I think selective color will work better with that image of my nephew. Oops. Okay, selective color. Selective color is the bottom, is the last adjustment layer here if you're using adjustment layers from the bottom. Okay, now selective color is cool. You can affect the individual channels, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. You can affect the individual channels within the individual color channels, right? So it's really really specific. So like reds, I want to take all the cyan out of my reds. Take that and just drag it out. You can see what's happening to the red, right? And drag it in. You can see what's happening to the red. You're adding cyan or you're removing it, right? I like on Amanda's face when I do this, I could see her face turn red. Cool. Same with the, now remember what I said about the magenta and the yellow, which is the same as the green and the blue channel, right? If I add, let's say I add 20 points of magenta and I add 20 points of yellow, that's adding 20 points of red over into the red channel. Does that make sense? If I do minus 20 and I do minus 20, that's cyan. Okay. So again, I sometimes I really just don't even mess with the cyan channel, but on selective color, I'm a little looser with it. I'm more that way with my curves layers when I'm adjusting my curves layer, but with selective color, I'll definitely do that. Now, a good thing to think about with this is let's be obnoxious. Let's be obnoxious with the red. Okay, just for sake of being obnoxious. Okay, let's make it nice and obnoxious red. Let's make Amanda's face glow. Okay, there it is. Now, the problem with that is his little lips, right? I like the way his lips looked before. So again, same idea. Come over here to my mask, brush. Now I have my black in my foreground, which is perfect. I'm gonna paint in with black. Okay, close this. Brush. Brush is B on your keyboard, Mac users. I don't know if it's the same. I have black. Opacity is turned all the way up, so I'm gonna turn that down just a little bit. And I'm just gonna paint those lips back into the original sort of color. Okay, So I'll turn my mask on and off. Got a little wild over there. I don't know why that happened. So are you all, watch this area right here, okay? When I turn it on and off, I see something's going on over there. So I'm gonna actually turn this, I'm gonna hit option, I'm gonna click it, and I see, oh, I went a little, something happened over here, right? So now I'll put my white back in the foreground, and I'll just paint all that back in with my white, because I know I don't need that. I know exactly where his lips are, right? We can see it exactly. And you could even change the hardness of your brush at this point. Maybe not 100%, but make it a little bit harder so we get cleaner, right? We get a cleaner sort of mask. Like that, make it a little bit bigger. Really start to clean that up. Does everybody know why I'm doing this? Yeah, okay. Then I'll turn this back off, that preview back off. Now I'll turn it back on. I'll turn the mask on and out, activate the mask on and off. Looks better. It's not so sloppy, right? And then back out, much better, right? I don't like that red in the background, but just so we can really see what's going on, I'm being obnoxious with it. Cool? Any questions? Anybody have any other method of working with their color?
I've heard a lot about split toning.
Okay, yeah. Split toning, let's split tone in Lightroom. So there's split tone down here underneath the HSL and the color. You'll have to activate, I could change the hue all I want right now, but until you add a little bit of saturation, it's not going to show you anything, just so you know. So, so it's essentially, it's working your highlights and your shadows, giving them different colors, right? And then you can sort of balance it out, mix it up, right? So if I, like, let's say, let's bring saturation up, I don't know, 45, okay? And I don't know, we'll make it a little warm in the highlights, and in the shadows, we'll go sort of bluer, something like that. Now you got this sort of, it really helps with like a film look, and now you can change the balance of it. Okay, is everybody seeing that? I don't know if you can see that or not. So, you can see what it's doing to the highlights, the color that it's adding to the highlights and color that it's adding to the shadows. And you can most definitely start to manipulate that a little bit. Maybe we'll try going blue, a cooler tone here and a warmer tone in the shadows. It gives you sort of, it's almost like a cross process look with film, and maybe the saturation is a little high. So pull the saturation down a little bit, and you can really start to give yourself a cool color scheme that way. If you're really looking to be a little more expressive with your color, that's really cool. Also, split toning is really great with black and white. So if you go to black and white and then you go to split tone, you got to saturate a little bit to see what you're doing, but you can kind of see what's going on with that, right? If you want to make it, some people like this sort of like sepia tone look. Let's find the warm, there they are. Sepia tone, bring it down, and bring the balance down. That as opposed to a straight black and white, some people really like. And split tone works well for that. But also you can cool it down. Something like that. Some people like the cooler tones. Okay, so it's split toning. Another like little tips and tricks, like if you, let's say we do something, I don't know, go red channel. You can, it's obnoxious, but you can definitely go through the blending modes as well. And darken, maybe multiply, you can just hover over them and you can see what the different blending modes are going to do. And, sometimes it's, maybe it's not exactly what you're looking for. Maybe that's not what I'm looking for necessarily, but you could definitely back it down and overlay and turn it on and off if you sort of like that sort of blending mode, right? I would definitely, like I said, figure something else out that's a little bit better, but it'll add a certain contrast to it. It'll just give it a different look if you're really trying to be expressive with your color. Okay. All right. Any thoughts? I'm going to turn my video back on. Hopefully it doesn't mess it up. Any thoughts? Any questions?
Lifelong learning here.
Yeah. I mean, color, I love doing the color because it's, especially with the prints, because it frustrates you all so much, but you all like, by the end, I love when I have my students come out of this class and they go into the other classes and I see them like test printing and being super anal about their color in the other classes, you know, and flex on all those other teachers that don't do that. But yeah, let's just, I know I'm giving the color assignment as sort of an extra credit assignment. But I would really say, like, at this point, I'm going to be really pressing you hard on your color. Now, the hard thing about doing color through Zoom, especially, is the calibration aspect. I got this brand new monitor last Friday in class. When I was with you all in class, I got the delivery, and I've set it up, but I haven't been able to calibrate my monitor yet. I need to go get a calibrator. So I can tell you right now, if I take this Photoshop window that has my nephew in it, and I drag that same Photoshop window over into my laptop window, the Retina display and this new fancy monitor both have different colors. They're rendering it differently, meaning whatever color you're seeing on your screen is going to render different on both of my screens. Sometimes I'll even send stuff to my phone to see how it's going to render on my phone, because it's just all different. How, my phone's pretty old at this point. That screen might not be as good as say some of the newer ones or something like that, or just vice versa. So just color is extremely subjective. It's I did this assignment with Robin where we took pictures of the sky that she hated, apparently. But I told everybody to go outside, take a picture of the sky. Did I already explain this to you all?
I never used the word hate.
She disliked it. But what I had everybody do was literally just go outside and take a picture of the sky and try to produce that picture as a print of just the sky, just the blue of the sky. Nothing else in the sky. So it's just a monochrome, just a blue rectangle. And then everybody print it out, and then we put it up on the wall, and just to see how different everybody's version of a blue sky is. Does that make sense? And it's the exact same sky at the exact same time and the exact same day. So color is subjective, it's different, it's all over the place, okay? But you're really gonna benefit if you really be really sort of particular about your color. Okay? And the better you are, the better your prints are going to be, so on and so forth. Okay? All right. Thank you, everybody. That was 2.5 hours. Thank you for listening to me for 2.5 hours. Or no, 1.5 hours. Yeah, class starts at 10. I'm thinking I'm torturing you guys. Okay, black and white assignment due next week. Okay, we're gonna critique first thing. Does anybody want to stick around and tell me about their finals projects? I got 2. Okay, so just stick around and then I'll do breakout rooms with you both. The rest of you, you need to email me with what you plan on doing for your project by Friday. Okay? I'm not gonna put it on Canvas. I'm not gonna do all that. I'm telling you right now. Everybody give me a thumbs up that's not gonna meet with me today. Got a thumb up from Tiha. Robin?
That's from the 6 to 10 pictures. You want to know
Exactly.
what they're going to be about.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Irene, thank you. Paula, Howard, thank you. Victor, did you hear me? Ivy? Yeah, Ivy, you heard me? I don't know if
Yeah,
Victor
I
heard
heard
me.
you.
Okay, cool. And Joel, you're good. Okay, cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Shoot
you.
your black and whites. I'll see you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Stay safe. Bye. Okay. So Amanda and Erica. I'm gonna do I'm gonna do breakout rooms, or unless you don't mind talking about your project in front of each other.
I don't mind.
No. Okay, cool. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. You want to go first? Okay, so what I like to do it on is like documentary style of some friends that I have. I kind of want to document what they're doing right now in quarantine. They're considered, I want to call it like on the front lines in 2020, because one friend of mine is a bus driver in Santa Monica, and so that's what I wanted to do. So that was my concept, is having like what is it called? A 2-page spread of
Double
each
page
person.
spread.
So I have
Yeah.
3 people in mind. One friend who's the bus driver, another friend is a firefighter, and he's also the chaplain for the firefighters, and another friend is a nurse.
Okay.
So I wanted to do a 2-page spread. The first page with like the bus driver, he usually has like snacks and breakfast with his family in their car before they go to the bus, before he goes to work. So I was thinking of having pictures of them like in their car, documenting how they're having their family time, having as much time together before the quarantine. I mean, before like he goes to work. Maybe like a picture of like what he brings on his lunch, like an overhead shot of what he brings in his lunch bag.
Okay.
And like a detail of his shirt, or maybe even just like a small portrait of him. And then like on the second page, I want to have a picture of him in front of the bus, like either
Okay.
walking into the bus, like he's going to the battlefield, or just like him in front, like his personality still shining through, even though he has to go to work. So I called my friend, and another reason why I want to document it is because she said that right now in Santa Monica, all the homeless people are using buses as basically mobile homes right now. And a lot of bus drivers are testing positive for COVID-19 because of it. And
Right.
so that's another reason why I want to document that. So that's what I want to do for my black and white, and then that'll be incorporated into my final spread, or my final.
Okay. I would even say at this point, maybe now, absolutely shoot as much as you can and you want. I would say that there's enough there for just shooting the bus driver.
Really?
For 6 to 10 page. Like what I wouldn't do is stuff a bunch of stuff into a double page spread. You know what I mean?
I was thinking maybe 3 like square pictures on the left page, and then on the right just the full like one of the bus and him. That's what I was thinking.
Do me a favor. There's this magazine called California Sunday.
Okay.
Let's see, what is his name? I think there's a it's California Sunday magazine. Let's see if I can just pull it up. Okay, great. So this photographer, I really love him. His name is Matt Black.
Okay.
And I'm gonna send you here. I'll put it in the chat right now. I just copied the link. Look at his work. You know, because he shoots black and white. He shoots this documentary stuff. This is about migrant workers.
Okay.
But you know, to me, I would say like I like this idea of like on the front lines, like it's a war story at that point. You know what I mean? And I would say like it's sort of better to like hone in on one particular photo essay, right? Whereas like if you're doing a bunch of like environmental portraits and stuff like that, that's a lot. And I feel like I'd rather see you really focus and like live with one sort of story than to see a bunch of different things. Now, like I said before, like I'm not saying don't shoot the other stuff, especially if it's accessible and whatnot. But just see, like, take a look at how Matt Black shot this stuff. It's all black and white, but it's like one story. It's and I'm sure he was out there for days and days and days, weeks probably, making the story. But I think there's enough there, just in one one shoot with your friend to like really talk about these things, because they're so big and they mean so much that I would say that like even like putting 3 little pictures on one page, unless it really works for the design, I would probably say like that's not even, I'd rather see it than like monumentalized, because it is so important and really really something.
Gotcha. Okay.
But think about it, and then maybe tell me what you just it's obviously your decision, so think about what it is that you want to do, and let me know by next week.
Okay.
And what was the other stories that you were thinking?
The other one was a friend who is a firefighter, and he's also the chaplain for the firefighters. I know that that's a big thing too. It's a lot of firefighters before the pandemic battled with a lot of like mental and spiritual things, and I could just imagine what's going on now. I thought that was really important to document that not only is he a firefighter, but he's also a chaplain for the firefighters.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing, thinking like pictures of his details of his badge and like what he's bringing to work, what he's bringing to the battlefield, and maybe a picture of him like with the Bible in his hand, and then a portrait of the either like what the car he brings to work, or the actual, I don't know if I could get an actual picture of the truck, but that's what I was thinking about doing. And then same thing so just the 3 different occupations that are considered on the front lines right now. But if I can get that done, I will. I know I have my friend with the bus, he said I can take pictures tomorrow. Yeah. So I'd like to maybe dig into this more, or see because it's tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I mean, I love this. I love this idea. I think like if I'm you and I have this kind of access to people, I'm thinking that like this is your own book, and this is, you know what I mean? Like this is enough sort of meat to like produce your own body of work that can be outside of like what this class is. Meaning I would, focus on the class in like your 6 or 10 or whatever it is for the class and get that done. But I would really, since you have that access, I would really, encourage you to shoot a bunch. And, also it's good that you sort of have these ideas in mind of like the pre-thought out shots. But remember, like documentary also means like sort of whatever's, not, the line between documentary and sort of staged photography is like really, really blurry. So it's like, you sort of want to, having the Bible in his hand, like that's almost like a editorial thing, or that's almost, you know what I mean? Like that's a different thing of like a posed portrait. That's different than like, look at some of these Matt Black photos and it's like literally the workers in the field. Like he's just there.
Yeah. No, yeah. It reminds me of a lot. Remember I told you I'd take that birth photography where I'm just there in the room when the mom's giving birth, and I'm just documenting whatever. That's what it reminds me of. It's like, I don't pose, don't direct, I'm a fly on the wall and documenting what's going on. Yeah.
And like the best documentary photographers, I would say, are so good with their camera. I myself am not necessarily a documentary photographer. There's like elements of documentary in my work, but I wouldn't call myself a documentary photographer. And that's also because like I like to use different cameras and I like different formats, and you know, like I'm just more experimental and like really expressive
That's
in
so
that
interesting
way.
that you say that, because I was just going to say I'm limited with what I have. And I think that's probably why, because I only have one camera and I have one good lens. So I make
Yep.
sure that, yeah, that's so interesting that you said that, because I was
Yeah.
just going to say, how do I, you know, right now everything's kind of closed. How do I get extra lenses to rent and stuff? How funny.
No. I wouldn't even worry about that. I would just say, you know, like Henri Cartier-Bresson is the photographer. He started Magnum. He's like coined like the phrase like the decisive moment, and just like really important in photo history. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he only used a 50 millimeter lens. You know what I mean? And it's just sort of like the parameters in which you give yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it always, you know, sometimes, especially for documentary photographer, it's not great to have a ton of gear.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to be loose and to be able to move and to have a are you still there?
Yeah, you kind of skipped a little bit, but and you're
Okay,
frozen right now.
Yeah, it's sort of better to be versatile. And you know, I don't know what lens you have. What lens do you have?
A
Do you know what it
50.
is? A 50. Oh, perfect. So is it a 1.8 or a 1.4?
I think it's a 2.8.
2.8. Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that gives you a lot of range. You know, it's exactly what your eye sees, and it's sort of like very straightforward. So like, yeah, work within those parameters. I think you'll get a lot. And just let, you know, be quick with your camera, really know your camera and your settings, and
yeah,
and you'll be great.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
I'll look at that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know, me too. I'm definitely going to do some research about it and get in contact with my friend. I wanted to know like his bus schedule, because I actually contact his wife more than him. So she was like, you know, sweetie, I wouldn't recommend you getting on the bus and like all this stuff, you know, because she's worried about me. She doesn't want me to get infected or anything. But so because of that, I think I want to ask for maybe his bus schedule tomorrow and do the Google Earth and kind of location scout that way. And see where like his break is. And that's what I wanted to do, is know where his break is. And this way I can take that environmental portrait of him with his bus. So this way I don't have contact with other people and they don't wonder like, why am I taking pictures or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
really
I'll do
cool.
research for that, and then I'll look at the matte black pictures. Thank you.
Yes, look at his pictures. They're striking. They're so good.
I just saw this one with a man and his son at home, and it's funny, I wanted to incorporate his son because my friend's son, he has autism, and you know, I think that that's really important. His wife described how much he works, how much he takes care of his wife, and how much he's on top of everything that his son has to go through, you know, with his different teachers, different therapies and everything. He's still on top of it while still battling, you know, going to. So I really like this picture. I don't know if you can see it, but this one with the sun and stuff. Yeah. I was like, okay, maybe I can go to their house too, take some pictures, you know.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's so much in just the one story that you could probably shoot an entire book on him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Good. Have a good shoot.
Thanks. You guys too.
Have fun.
Bye.
But I want to hear your guys' idea now.
Okay, I thought you were leaving.
No, I'll hear your guys' ideas.
So I've been actually, I really like how you said the decisive moment. What was that guy? What was his name?
His name is Henri Cartier-Bresson. Here.
Okay, yeah, send that to me. I'm not gonna be able to spell that. Just being honest.
Be honest. 1 second. Let me just pull up his shit.
But I have been kind of just going with intuition. Just when spirit or whatever the heck tells me to go out, I go out. I've been finding really interesting people, and just kind of getting into kind of some trouble. People calling the cops on me because I'm like out late at night. It's dumb. But anyway, so recently I was taking pictures of a burnt RV, I guess some homeless dude, his radiator, I don't remember what they said, but basically the thing was like all burnt. There's like pants and shirts like all on top because the guy was trying to put it out, and it's been there for now like 3 days. So I went over to take pictures, and I was there for like